All right, welcome to the recap. I'm gonna just go over the trades that I took and my bias. So I was bullish for the day because if you use weekly profiles, Monday and Tuesday traded lower. I viewed Tuesday as the manipulation of the week and then expected Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to be expansion. And I expected expansion up to these equal highs here and previous day high and this daily high on ES and then maybe all-time high as well. We also had this as a draw still. This old candle with no wick. So this is an old 10 a.m. candle from the last previous week. But what I wanted to see is a move lower first, because we had data low, which it got taken on ES yesterday, so we didn't really need to take this, but we did have this 4-hour gap right here. And to really be sure about longs, I just want to see these lows get cleaned up. But we swept out London low here, and you can see the daily open lower. London traded lower and taps 1800 here. So pretty much previous day high was my draw for the day. And I just want to see, ES sweep out these equal lows here. I don't really like these lows. And maybe just give a clean entry for longs. But what ended up happening is open just took the draw right away. So here, and then I wanted to wait for 10 a.m. So the draw was already taken. At this point, we already took all-time high. And we took these equal highs, previous day high, all of this. The only thing we really had left, at least on NQ, was this 4-hour high over here. So what I wanted to look for is 10 a.m. to open lower and give a continuation. And I expected ES to just continue pumping, even though it already took all-time high. But what ended up happening is it pretty much looked to me like 10 a.m. open higher. So we don't get much of a manipulation lower, which is what I wanted because we had this 15-minute gap down here and then 5-minute gap here, but we just left this all behind, right? And because we left these gaps, these pretty much became my draws, at least for the short term, because we had all these unfilled gaps. And if you look at the 1 minute here, it looked to me like accumulation and then a manipulation higher, and then maybe we get a move down into these gaps. So I waited for the next 15-minute candle to open, right? Because I want to see a 15-minute open, sweep out this high right here. And what I ended up taking is this 3-minute rejection block. So this first one, which if you look at the close, it's not great. What was this right here? And this got reswept on the next candle, but I wanted to take this just to these lows. So about a 1 to 4. That gets reswept, and then I saw that we made a 5-minute, and I re-entered on this 5-minute, expecting this to hold because it was pretty much the beginning of this 15-minute candle. So it looked to me like a 15-minute candle open high, right? And I just expected a little bit of a retracement lower to at least these lows, or at least the first 5-minute gap here on ES. This would be the first 5-minute gap on NQ. But this ends up failing. And the problem with this, well, there's a few problems. For one, ES is at all-time high. So, and NQ is just ripping higher, just displacing higher with no real pullback. So it's going to be really hard to short this and really hard to actually catch the top. Also, if you look at this 5-minute rejection block here, we had a 5-minute gap right below this. And what happens is the next 5-minute candle actually traded lower first into this gap right here, I think. So this 5-minute gap was already hit, and then we come up to the rejection block. But what we would have wanted is for the rejection block to get tapped first and then go break even at this 5-minute gap. So yeah, user error for that. I shouldn't have been looking for shorts, really. I pretty much just felt forced to look for shorts because there was no entry for longs, because 10 a.m. just displaced higher. It looked like open high to me, but I think I was pretty much wrong about this. So this 1-hour candle just traded higher and ended up being a pretty bullish candle. I mean, it almost flips bearish here, but not really. Ends up closing bullish. And then we eventually get a little bit of a move lower. We get the retracement after like 10:30. So yeah, pretty much I was just too early on this. I mean, we eventually hit this gap, but overall the day was just super bullish. But what would have been better, and this is what I should have waited for if I wanted to short, is 11 a.m. open, because 11 a.m. opens here, and at this point we actually have some structure. So we actually have, we started moving down from here. We have some 5-minute, I think this 5-minute gets inverse here, right here, and we make this 15-minute rejection block. And we actually have this 5-minute range. So same idea as the first short, but we actually have some structure here, and we actually tap into a PD array. Because here, with this 5-minute, we're just in the middle of nowhere. So it's going to be really hard to short this here. But here you have a lot more PD array stacked in your favor, which is this 15-minute, which is also off of, I guess, this 4-hour rejection block way over here, technically. So it's off of something. But obviously this is just a difficult, trend to short. It's hard to fade this move. But anyways, 11 a.m. actually opens up higher right here. So here's 11 a.m. We tap into the 15-minute rejection block and almost OTE. At least equilibrium. Equilibrium of this 5-minute range. And we get this 5-minute rejection block, which doesn't give an entry. 3-minute doesn't really give an entry, but the only thing that gives an entry would be this 1-minute, yeah. And this is nice because it's when the new 15-minute candle opens right here. So this new 15-minute candle kind of opens lower at first, but then comes higher into this 15-minute rejection block right here. And this is a 5-minute gap as well. So for shorts, this would have been a lot better, and this should have been the trade that I should have taken if I was patient and waited for a new hourly open. And looks like This 4-hour closed bullish as well. So 2 L's for me because this was just a pattern trade really. And then we end up getting the move back up out of this 1-hour gap. Looks like we'll probably take this high. Will be the next draw. But yeah, it was pretty much just offside today. I shouldn't have faded this move up at open. Like, look at this candle. And look how it closes past this high. So trying to short this is pretty difficult unless you wait for some good structure being formed here, like an actual reaction. An SMT would have been nice for shorts too. And then on ES we get this long. So we still have the equal lows, but we come down here into OTE and we hit this 1-hour gap. And we get not really a good entry here. But yeah. So yeah, overall like a pretty hard day to trade because if you want to take longs, you don't get an entry really unless you trade maybe London. But if you wait for open, there's pretty much nothing. If you want to wait for EQ of any range, right, never really gets hit. So that's why I ended up pretty much fading my bias and looking for a short because I didn't expect to get a long entry. And the way that 10 a.m. opened looked like an open high to me. Right, where was it? Right here. But yeah, just pretty much expansion day. Makes sense. But yeah, that's the 2 trades that I took. Hope that makes sense, and I'll see you guys in the next one.